From out of a world of beauty, excitement, and adventure, the story of African wildlife and the diminishing areas in which it lives. This is one episode from the untamed world. Before the turn of the century, those hundreds of thousands of square miles south of the great African deserts contain the largest array of wildlife in the world. Today, African wildlife is still numerous, but its numbers have suffered to a great extent from the advance of civilization. Man has introduced disease, agriculture, and indiscriminate killing to bring many species close to extinction. The lion was once undisputed king of this area. Now, man reigns supreme. And whereas lions have retreated in the face of advancing civilization, the wildebeest have suffered severe losses at the hands of hunters and poachers. It is quite conceivable that if man continues to settle and cultivate the wildlife areas of Africa at his present rate, then the animals will be gone by the end of this century. The largest flocks of flamingos are found on Lake Nakuru in Kenya's Lake Nakuru National Park. Probably 1/3 of all the flamingos in the entire world live here, and the park was created to preserve one of the bird's few remaining natural habitats. Flamingos are not born with their familiar pinkish colorings. This comes after about 2 years, when a chemical contained in their favorite food tints the white plumage. This food comes in the form of tiny organisms, insect larvae, and crustaceans found in the alkaline waters. They get this by swinging their beaks through the water and sifting out the tiny food particles through a sophisticated filter system. It is a chemical in these foods that eventually turns the feathers pink. One of the flamingo's relatively few predators is the crocodile, which lives mostly off fish, except when a larger and apparently more tasty land animal strays too close. Throughout Africa, as in other parts of the world, animals rely on each other to survive. The topi, for instance, lives off vegetation like the rest of the antelopes. And the lion, amongst other things, lives off the topi. But there's never any needless slaughter when a meat eater like the lion starts killing other animals. A lion simply kills to eat, and under the natural laws of the animal kingdom, it has never been known for one animal to maliciously wipe out another species altogether. Usually, the lion has to work very hard and skillfully to bring down his prey. And as there is a far greater number of antelopes in lion country than lions, the balance of population between the species is kept on an even scale. The only thing which seriously upsets the balance of species, and indeed the very existence of some, is man. Without his intrusion, the saddle-billed stork and the heron would live quite happily and abundantly with other animals like the impala. This relationship has endured for countless centuries. One group of animals which has nearly been wiped out is the buffalo. The Cape buffalo of Africa has been more fortunate than its North American counterpart. Although man has ravaged the Cape buffalo herds, the American buffalo has had its numbers reduced from millions in the last century to only 20,000 today. One of the most impressive sights of African wildlife is to be found around the water hole. Here, dozens of species will mix freely to drink and cavort. It's the village square or community center of the animal world. Giraffes and sable antelopes, vultures and impala, all get together for one of the finest natural glimpses into the paradise of nature. Back in ancient days, the Romans used zebras in circuses, except they called them hippotigris, meaning horse tigers. In many cases, though, zebras are more like asses than horses, having relatively large, long ears and short, stiff manes. Not all zebras look alike, and despite their characteristic stripes, which set them apart from the rest of the ass-like animals, the markings are one way of telling them apart. Although the birth rate within relatively large herds is making the zebra one of the more numerous animals in Africa, at least one kind has died out completely within living memory. And that was the quagga, whose stripes were confined to its head and neck. Those that remain obviously enjoy life, and although scientists have been studying their habits and behavior for many years, it's a good guess that after watching something like this, they can only come up with the theory that animals, like humans, can make a great time out of it when the pressures of everyday life have momentarily disappeared. The rhino is one of the biggest of the land animals, being many times larger than the biggest zebra. For all its bulk, the rhino's brain is comparatively small, and this may account for its irritability and dangerously unpredictable behavior. Despite the fact that rhinos look as if they could handle any situation, they are slowly but surely disappearing from the face of the earth. This animal has been relentlessly hunted over the centuries, mainly by natives who grind the rhino's horns into a powder for sale in Asia, where it is believed to contain miraculous medicinal properties. Some conservationists now believe it is possible that the rhinoceros will become extinct by the turn of the century. As big and solid as the rhino may be, the hippopotamus must take first prize as one of the most ungainly and ugly animals known to men. The most logical reason hippos wallow around in the mud and waterways of Africa is simply to take some weight off their minds. A hippo's skin alone weighs about half a ton, and when you add another 3.5 tons of meat and bone, you can see that the additional support mud and water brings can be quite a relief. African wildlife faces few natural dangers when compared with the threat of man. When a lion stalks its prey, only one member of the herd could die. But when man in his native and civilized forms becomes the predator, the chances of not only herds but entire species being wiped out become real. More than half of the African wildlife lives in national parks, reserves, and sanctuaries. This total area represents less than 1/2 of 1% of the land mass of the African continent. The ease and comfort of this pride of lions may be short-lived. In Africa, some conservationists say there were 9 times the present number of lions less than 100 years ago. Man is like the rest of the animal world, with the exception of his destructive tendencies. Animals are not knowingly destructive, and in many ways, nature has endowed them with an almost perfect natural society. Disease is kept to a minimum by scavengers like the hyena. What's left over after one of the larger animals has made a kill won't have chance to rot away in the hot African sun and multiply a colony of infectious germs. The hyenas form part of a sanitation squad. They clean up what's left, and although their table manners and unsmiling faces are not the measure of polite society, their role in nature's scheme works to near perfection. Jackals are scavengers like hyenas and fit in somewhere between wolves and foxes. Sometimes they hunt in packs like wolves, yet take after the fox by being more active at night. With beauty and habits aside, if it wasn't for scavengers like the jackal, disease would have wiped out all the animals of Africa long ago. Somehow we associate the mongoose with India. Perhaps the words of Rudyard Kipling have instilled in us the famous confrontations between this pert little animal and the cobra. But like the jackal, there are several types of mongooses in Africa. About the only things the two animals have in common is that they will prey on smaller animals, with the mongoose showing a decided preference for snakes, which was possibly the reason why Kipling immortalized it in the first place. When we get to know it better, the civet could be immortal too. Its striking resemblance to the North American skunk makes the similarity almost too close for comfort. Probably nowhere in all of Africa is the wildlife more abundant, beautiful, or active than it is along the lakes and rivers. These are the water creatures, all living, breeding, and coexisting along with the beauty and convenience of a waterfront lot. Pelicans rank with the biggest of birds, and they have an appetite to match. Virtually everywhere they are found, pelicans are mainly white, with the notable exception being the brown pelican, which lives throughout the Americas. No matter where the pelican lives, or whether he's white or brown, he'll show you the best fishing spots in the world. Nature learned the art of conservation a very long time ago. The hippo has been helping to promote life in the rivers and lakes of Africa for countless centuries. His body secretions help promote growth of plankton, and this, together with food particles he stirs up with his feet, provides food for a variety of other animals. So little birds like the lily trotter can thank the hippo in no small way for helping it make the best of a day's hunting. There's no doubt that the giraffe is the giant among animals. Scientists believe that they were even taller than their present 18 feet. As their height diminished over the centuries, so did their numbers. In many parts of West Africa, they have been almost wiped out, but they have continued to keep together in fairly large numbers throughout East and South Africa. Giraffes live in loose community relationships, but their family bonds are fairly strong. Like most animals, they will fight vigorously to protect their young. And there's one documented instance of a giraffe kicking the head clean off a lion's shoulders when it tried to attack the giraffe's baby. Africa is a land of giants. The giraffe is the tallest animal alive today, and the elephant is the biggest of the land animals. In keeping with its size, the elephant requires enormous amounts of food and water, and not even severe droughts seem to deter him from getting all the nourishment he wants. His undisputed strength and staying power lets him roam at will, all the way from the coastal areas of Africa to elevations up to 14,000 feet, on through jungles and open plains to virtually anywhere. There's an old saying that an elephant never forgets. In light of modern scientific research, that may well be a fact. The noted Canadian neurologist Dr. Wilder Penfield proved that memory is seated in the brain's temporal lobes. And the elephant's temporal lobes are the largest among mammals. One of the most remarkable memory feats which has been attributed to an elephant is the fact that he could remember the difference between two playing cards after not seeing them again for over a year. Despite the elephant's remarkable size and memory, its ability to roam at will and superior intelligence, it too is dying out. Already they are confined to the tropical areas of Africa and India. And recently, many had to be killed off because they were damaging some of the confined national park areas. The elephant may be a careless feeder and smash down trees and bushes as it roams for food, but the very act of carelessness does, in some ways, help other animals. Just the simple act of an elephant's footprint filling with water could mean survival for some thirsty animal. Even though many people will argue that the elephant comes closest to man in intelligence, just about everyone agrees that the primates are man's closest living relatives. Baboons are old world monkeys and have been studied perhaps more than any other animal. Their human characteristics range all the way from close family relationships to plain and simple family fights. Like man, baboons will vigorously defend their rights and families. A male has been known to kill his mate if she has been unfaithful. The same kind of anger can just as easily be turned against predators like the leopard, and a troop of baboons can put up a ferocious fight against the big cat and come out on the winning side more times than not. Left to its own resources and laws, the wildlife of Africa would flourish and regain its former stature as a significant part of man's natural heritage. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Conceivably, it could all be gone by the end of the century. Even though most major national parks are well managed in Africa, a new problem arises: how to cope with the rising number of animal lovers who may well ruin the parks in their desire to see the very animals they hope to save.